The alarm bells rang through Kepler Station like the screams of dying metal. Commander Yina ran down the main corridor, her boots hitting the steel floor with sharp sounds. Red lights flashed everywhere, making the walls look like they were covered in blood. "Commander, the outer ring is gone," Sergeant Dalsu shouted over the noise. His face was pale and covered in sweat. "The aliens ate right through it." Yina stopped and looked at the security screens. What she saw made her stomach feel sick. Large, dark shapes moved outside the station. They looked like giant bugs mixed with machines. The Vorthak bioships pressed against the metal walls of Kepler Station. Where they touched, the metal simply disappeared, eaten away by acidic mouths that opened and closed like hungry fish. "How many civilians are still in the outer sections?" Yina asked. 43, ma'am. We're trying to get them out, but..." Dalsu pointed at another screen. A Vorthak creature had broken through the wall of Section C. It was the size of a small building, with dozens of tentacles that grabbed everything they could reach. People ran away from it, screaming. Yina grabbed her radio. "All units, fall. Back to the inner ring. Seal the blast doors. We'll make our stand there." She had been in charge of Kepler Station for 3 years. It was supposed to be a quiet job. The station sat at the edge of human space, mining rare metals from the asteroid belt. Nothing exciting ever happened here. The biggest problem they usually had was broken mining equipment or workers getting drunk on Saturday nights. That changed this morning when the Vorthak Empire arrived. Yina had heard stories about the Vorthak, but she never thought she would see them. They were one of the oldest alien races in the galaxy. Their ships were alive, grown instead of built. They could heal damage by eating metal and other materials. The more they ate, the bigger and stronger they became. "Ma'am, I'm getting reports from all sections," said Communications Officer Heijin. Her voice shook as she spoke. "The aliens are everywhere. They're not just attacking. They're feeding on the station itself." Through the windows, Yina could see the truth of those words. The Vorthak bioships looked like massive whales made of black metal and flesh. Their mouths opened, wide, showing rows of spinning teeth. They bit into the station's hull and chewed, swallowing pieces of metal and machinery. With each bite, the creatures grew a little larger. "How long until the inner ring is sealed?" Yina asked. 5 minutes, Commander," Dalsu replied. "But we still have people trapped out there." Yina closed her eyes for a moment. She was 34 years old and had never been in a real battle before. Kepler Station only had a small security force. They had basic weapons and light armor. Nothing that could fight creatures the size of buildings. "Commander!" Heijin called out. "I'm getting a transmission from the lead alien ship." "Put it on speakers." A voice filled the room. It sounded like metal grinding against stone. The words were in human language, but they were wrong somehow, like the speaker's mouth wasn't made for human sounds. "Human insects," the voice said. "You will surrender now. Your metal station feeds us well. Give us your people, and we will eat them quickly. Fight us, and we will eat them slowly." Yina picked up the microphone. "This is Commander Yina of Kepler Station. We don't surrender to anyone." Harsh laughter came through the speakers. "Foolish insects! We are the Vorthak! We have eaten 1,000 worlds! Your little station will make us strong enough to eat more!" The transmission ended. "Ma'am," Dalsu said quietly, "what are we going to do? We can't fight those things." Yina looked around the command center. She saw fear in every face. These were good people. Miners, engineers, technicians. They had families back on Earth. They didn't sign up to be soldiers, but they were all she had. "We fight," she said. "We hold the inner ring as long as we can, and we pray that someone heard our distress signal." The blast doors sealed with a loud clang. Through the security cameras, Yina watched the Vorthak creatures pour into the abandoned outer sections of the station. They moved like a black tide, eating everything in their path. Walls, floors, machinery, nothing was safe from their hunger. "Commander, the power plant in Section D is gone," reported Engineer Kyung-ho. "We're running on backup power now." "How long will it last?" "Maybe 6 hours if we shut down everything except life support and weapons." Yina nodded. 6 hours. She had to keep everyone alive for 6 hours and hope that help would come. The problem was that Kepler Station was very far from Earth. It would take the closest human ships at least 2 days to get here, even if they left right now. A new sound filled the air, a deep humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The station shook slightly. "What was that?" Yina asked. Heijin checked her instruments. "The aliens are singing, ma'am. All of them together." "Singing? It's how they communicate during feeding. The bigger they get, the louder they sing." The humming grew stronger. Yina could feel it in her bones. Outside, the Vorthak bioships had grown noticeably larger. Their black skin gleamed with new armor plates made from the station's metal. Some of them had grown new tentacles and weapons. "Commander," Dalsu said, "I've got movement in the main corridor. They're trying to break through the blast door." Yina looked at the screen. A creature the size of a truck pressed against the thick metal door. Its mouth opened, showing teeth like spinning drills. Sparks flew as it began to chew through the metal. "All security teams to the main corridor," Yina ordered. "Set up defensive positions. Use everything we have." She knew it wouldn't be enough. The blast door was 3 feet thick, made of the strongest metal humans could make. But the creature was already halfway through it. When it broke through, they would have maybe 10 minutes before the inner ring was overrun. Yina opened the station wide. Communication system. "Attention all personnel. This is your commander. I won't lie to you. Things look bad, but we're not giving up. We have families to go home to. We have lives to live. These aliens think we're just food, but they're wrong. We're human beings, and we don't surrender." She paused, looking at the faces around her. "Earth Control, this is Kepler Station. If anyone can hear this, we need help. The Vorthak Empire has found us. We'll hold as long as we can, but we can't hold forever. Please, if there's anyone out there, we need you." The creature broke through the blast door with a sound like thunder. Black tentacles reached through the opening, feeling around for victims. Security guards opened fire with their energy rifles, but the beams bounced off the creature's thick skin like raindrops. Yina drew her sidearm, knowing it would do no good. Around her, the staff of Kepler Station prepared to make their last stand. In the distance, the Vorthak fleet continued to sing their hungry song. The war room at Earth's Naval Command buzzed with activity. Officers ran between computer stations, their faces tight with worry. Large screens showed star maps and fleet positions. In the center of it all, Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun stood like a mountain, his gray hair perfectly neat despite being woken up at 3 in the morning. "Show me the transmission again," he said in his deep voice. The main screen flickered to life. Commander Yina's face appeared, looking tired and scared. Behind her, red alarm lights flashed, and the sound of fighting could be heard. "Earth Control. This is Kepler Station. The Vorthak Empire has attacked us with a full biofleet. We estimate over 200 alien ships. They're feeding on our station and growing stronger. We have maybe 6 hours before complete overrun. Request immediate assistance. Repeat, we need help now." The transmission ended with the sound of an explosion. Admiral Dong Hyun turned to face the room full of officers. Captain Soo-jin of the Dreadnought Iron Phoenix stepped forward. She was young for a ship captain, only 31, but she had earned her position through skill and courage. "Admiral, my ship can be ready to jump in 2 hours," Soo-jin said. "The Iron Phoenix is our most powerful dreadnought. If we leave now—" "Captain," interrupted General Tae-ho from across the room, "one ship against 200? That's not rescue. That's suicide." Tae-ho was older than everyone else in the room. He had fought in the border wars 20 years ago, back when humans first met hostile aliens. His left arm was mechanical, replaced after a plasma blast had destroyed the original. "The Vorthak aren't like other enemies," Tae-ho continued. "Their bioships get stronger by eating metal and energy. Every shot you fire at them just makes them bigger. By the time we could get a full fleet to Kepler Station, those creatures would be the size of moons." Captain Soo-jin's hands clenched into fists. "So we just abandon those people? Let them die while we sit here and plan?" "I'm not saying abandon them," Tae-ho replied. "I'm saying we need to think this through. The Vorthak have never attacked this deep into human space before. This isn't just about one station. This could be the start of a full invasion." Intelligence Officer Hye-Wan cleared her throat. She was a small woman with quick eyes who rarely spoke in meetings unless she had something important to say. When she did speak, everyone listened. "Gentlemen, I may have relevant information," she said, walking to the front of the room. "I've been studying Vorthak tactics for the past 5 years. They're overconfident. They've conquered dozens of star systems, but they've never fought humans." She pressed a button, and the main screen showed technical diagrams of Vorthak bioships. Their ships are alive, yes. They heal damage and grow stronger by consuming materials. But they have weaknesses. They think in terms of biological warfare. Acid, teeth, tentacles. They've never encountered our ghost drive technology. Admiral Dong Hyun raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "The ghost drive allows our ships to phase shift into parallel dimensions during combat. We can appear and disappear at will, attack from impossible angles, even move through solid matter for short periods. To the Vorthak, this would seem like magic." Captain Soo-jin leaned forward. "You're saying they won't know how to fight us?" "I'm saying they'll be completely unprepared," Hye-Wan replied. "Look at their attack pattern at Kepler Station. They're feeding slowly, taking their time. They think they've already won. They're not expecting a counterattack." General Tae-ho shook his head. "Even with surprise on our side, the numbers are still impossible. 200 ships versus what? We'd need at least 50 ships to have a real chance, and our nearest fleet group has only 30 vessels." "Not necessarily," said a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Admiral Hansol entering the room. Hansol was a legend in the human navy. He had designed most of their current battle tactics and had never lost a single engagement. His arrival meant this situation was being treated as a major crisis. "Admiral on deck," someone called out, but Hansol waved them down. "I've been listening from outside," Hansol said. "Captain Soo-jin, how many ships can you gather in the next 4 hours?" 12, sir. Maybe 15 if we pull ships from the patrol routes. And General Tae-ho, what's the maximum effective range for our new quantum lance weapons? Tae-ho consulted his tablet. "About 50,000 kilometers, sir. But against bioships that size, we'd need multiple hits to—" "No," Han Sol interrupted. "We wouldn't." Hayawan. Show them the dimensional analysis from last month's weapons test. Hayawan's. Fingers flew over her control pad. New data appeared on the screen. Test results from the latest human weapons technology. The quantum lance doesn't just damage targets, she explained. It disrupts the dimensional structure of whatever it hits. Living tissue can't adapt to dimensional damage the way it adapts to normal energy weapons. Captain Sujin's eyes widened, as she understood. You mean our weapons would tear them apart at the molecular level? They couldn't heal from that? Exactly. And with the ghost drive, we could attack from multiple dimensions simultaneously. They wouldn't even be able to target us properly. Admiral Dong Hyun stepped closer to the screen, studying the weapon data. How confident are you in this assessment? 90%, sir, Hayawan replied. The only unknown factor is how quickly they might adapt once they realize what's happening. They won't have time to adapt, Han Sol said firmly. We hit them fast and hard. Phase in, destroy their command ships, phase out before they can respond. Classic shock tactics. General Taeho looked uncomfortable. Sirs, this is still a huge risk. If we're wrong about their capabilities, we lose not just Kepler Station, but also our best ships and crews. Admiral Dong Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Around the room, officers waited for his decision. Outside the windows, Earth's lights sparkled in the darkness. Somewhere far away, brave people were fighting for their lives against impossible odds. Captain Sujin, Dong Hyun said finally. How long to reach Kepler Station at maximum jump speed? 6 hours, sir. And how long do you estimate the station can hold? Sujin checked the latest reports. Maybe 8 hours if they're lucky. Dong Hyun nodded slowly. Then he slammed his fist down on the hollow table so hard that coffee cups jumped across the room. We've spent 50 years perfecting warfare while they've grown fat on easy conquests, he said, his voice filled with cold anger. Time to show them what human ingenuity really means. He turned to face the room. All ships in the sector are to converge on Rally Point Delta 7 immediately. We leave in 4 hours. Captain Sujin, your ship will lead the attack. Admiral Han Sol will command the overall operation. Sir, General Taeho said, what about the rest of our defenses? If this goes wrong, it won't go wrong, Dong Hyun replied, because we're not going to let it. Those are our people out there, and nobody, not the Vorthak, not anyone, attacks human civilians and lives to tell about it. The room exploded into activity as officers rushed to carry out orders. Captain Sujin felt her heart racing with excitement and fear. In 6 hours, they would either save Kepler Station or die trying. Admiral Han Sol walked over to her. Captain, are you ready for this? Sujin straightened her uniform and saluted. Yes, sir. The Iron Phoenix won't let you down. I know she won't, Han Sol replied. Just remember, the moment we phase into normal space, we're committed. No retreat, no second chances. We hit them with everything we have. Understood, sir. As the officers dispersed to prepare their ships, Admiral Dong Hyun remained in the war room, staring at the tactical display. Kepler Station was just a small dot on the vast star map, but it represented something much bigger. It represented the idea that humans would never give up, never surrender, never abandon their own. The Vorthak were about to learn a very painful lesson about human determination. Space around the human fleet was perfectly quiet. 15 warships moved through the darkness like ghosts, their hulls coated with special materials that made them invisible to most sensors. At the front of the formation, the dreadnought Iron Phoenix led the way, its massive bulk cutting through space without making a sound. On the bridge of the Iron Phoenix, Captain Sujin watched the navigation display with sharp eyes. They had been traveling for 5 hours now, jumping from system to reach Kepler Station. Each jump brought them closer to what might be the most important battle in human history. "Distance to target?" Su-Jin asked. Lieutenant Jun-ho looked up from his station. He was the ship's navigation officer, young and nervous, but very good at his job. 2 hours at current speed, Captain. We're still undetected. Good. How are the stealth systems holding up? All green, ma'am. The adaptive camouflage is working perfectly. Even if they're looking right at us, their sensors would show empty space. Su-Jin nodded. The adaptive camouflage was one of humanity's newest technologies. The ship's hull could change its appearance to match the background stars, making it nearly impossible to spot. Combined with the engine dampeners that hid their heat signature, the human fleet was invisible. Behind them, 14 other ships followed in perfect formation. Destroyers, cruisers, and frigates, each one equipped with the latest human weapons and technology. It wasn't a large fleet by normal standards, but Admiral Han Sol had chosen each ship carefully. Speed and stealth were more important than raw firepower for this mission. "Captain," called out Engineer Bo Ram from her station, "the Ghost Drive systems are ready for combat deployment. All 15 ships report green status." Bo Ram was one of the best engineers in the human fleet. She had helped design the Ghost Drive technology that allowed ships to phase shift between dimensions. The technology was still new and dangerous. One mistake could send a ship into a dimension where it could never return. "Excellent work, Bo Ram. How long can we maintain phase shift in combat?" "About 10 minutes per ship, ma'am. After that, we'll need to return to normal space to recharge the dimensional coils." 10 minutes should be more than enough, Su-Jin replied. She hoped that was true. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of computers and life support. Systems. Through the main viewport, stars stretched out in all directions like tiny diamonds. It was beautiful and peaceful, which made it hard to believe they were heading toward a battle that could determine the fate of human civilization. "Captain," Jun-ho said suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Han Sol on the Thunderbolt." "Put him through!" Admiral Han Sol's face appeared on the main screen. Even through the video link, Su-Jin could see the determination in his eyes. "Captain Su-Jin, we're approaching the final phase of our approach. In 1 hour, we'll be close, enough to see the battle zone. Are your people ready?" "Yes, sir. All systems green, crew at battle stations." "Good. Remember, the moment we phase into normal space, there's no going back. We hit them fast and hard, then get out before they can adapt to our tactics." "Understood, Admiral." The transmission ended and Su-Jin turned back to her crew. Around the bridge, men and women worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. These were the best sailors in the human fleet, chosen for their skill and courage. They knew they might not survive the next few hours, but none of them showed fear. "Captain," called out Communications Officer A-Ra, "I'm picking up long-range transmissions from the Kepler system. The station is still broadcasting distress signals. Can you make out what they're saying?" A-Ra adjusted her headset and listened carefully. "It's Commander Yi-Na, ma'am. She says they've fallen back to the central core of the station. They're down to emergency power and running out of ammunition." Su-Jin felt her jaw tighten. Every minute they delayed meant more people would die, but rushing in without proper preparation would just get everyone killed. "Any word on casualties?" she asked. "Heavy losses, Captain. At least 60% of the station's population is gone." The bridge fell silent. 60% meant hundreds of people, miners, engineers, families who had been living peaceful lives just hours ago. Now they were dead, consumed by alien creatures that saw humans as nothing more than food. "Captain," Engineer Boram said quietly, "the ghost drive is fluctuating slightly. The dimensional field generators are running hot." "How hot?" "Within normal parameters, but close to the warning line. The technology is still new, and we're pushing it harder than it's ever been pushed before." Sujin made a mental note to watch the ghost drive systems carefully during the battle. The last thing they needed was for their most important advantage to fail at the wrong moment. "Captain!" Junho called out suddenly. "Long-range sensors are picking up the Kepler system. I'm seeing—" "Oh no. What is it?" Junho's face had gone pale. "The Vorthak fleet, ma'am. It's huge. I count over 300 bioships now, and they're still growing." 300? Sujin felt her heart skip a beat. Intelligence had estimated 200 ships. The aliens had been busy while the human fleet traveled to reach them. "Yes, ma'am. And Captain, some of them are enormous. The largest ones are the size of small asteroids." Sujin walked over to Junho's station and looked at his sensor display. What she saw made her stomach feel sick. The Vorthak bioships looked like a swarm of giant insects surrounding Kepler Station. The station itself was barely recognizable. Huge chunks had been eaten away, leaving a skeleton of metal and machinery. But what really worried her were the large bioships Junho had mentioned. They were massive creatures, easily 10 times bigger than her dreadnought. Their hulls pulsed with organic armor made from the station's metal. Tentacles the size of subway trains reached out from their bodies, grabbing pieces of debris and stuffing them into grinding mouths. "Boram," Sujin said, "will our weapons be effective against targets that large?" "The quantum lance should work, ma'am. Size doesn't matter when you're disrupting matter at the dimensional level, but we'll need direct hits. Those creatures have thick armor now, and if we miss—" Boram was quiet for a moment. "If we miss, they'll probably eat our ships the same way they ate the station." Captain Wu Jin's voice came over the communication system. He was the captain of the destroyer Crimson Blade, one of the fastest ships in the fleet. "Iron Phoenix, this is Crimson Blade. We're seeing the same thing you are. Request permission to do a close reconnaissance pass." "Negative, Crimson Blade. Maintain formation and stay hidden. We go in together or not at all." "Understood, Iron Phoenix." Sujin looked around her bridge. These were brave people, but she could see the worry in their eyes. They had expected a difficult battle, but this was worse than anyone had imagined. 300 alien ships against 15 human vessels. Even with their technological advantages, the odds were terrible. "Captain," Aira said, "I'm receiving a new transmission from Kepler Station. It's very weak." "Put it through." Commander Yina's voice filled the bridge, but it was hard to hear through the static and noise. "Any human ships? This is Kepler Station. We're down to the last few sections, maybe 100 people left. The creatures are breaking through. If anyone can hear this, tell our families we tried to hold." The transmission cut off with a burst of static. The bridge was completely silent. Everyone stared at their instruments, not wanting to meet each other's eyes. 100 people left out of thousands. Those were the people they were risking everything to save. "All stations battle ready," Sujin said in a clear, strong voice. "In 1 hour, we phase into normal space and remind these aliens why you don't mess with human beings." Around the bridge, her crew straightened up and returned to their work. The fear was still there, but it was controlled now, focused into determination. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the aliens didn't understand. They had each other. and they had a promise to keep to the people dying at Kepler Station. In 1 hour, the Vorthak Empire would learn what human fury looked like. The human fleet hung in dimensional space like predators waiting to strike. Through the strange, twisted view of parallel dimensions, they could see the Kepler system spread out before them. The Vorthak bioships swarmed around the dying station, like vultures feeding on a corpse. On the bridge of the Iron Phoenix, Captain Sujin watched the tactical display with cold eyes. The alien fleet had grown even larger in the past hour. Some of the bioships were now the size of mountains, their hulls thick with armor made from consumed metal and machinery. "Final systems check," Sujin ordered. Around the bridge, her crew ran through their pre-battle procedures. Every light was green, every weapon was charged, every system was ready for combat. The ship hummed with barely contained energy, like a tiger ready to pounce. "Ghost drive status?" Sujin asked. "Fully charged and ready for combat phase," Engineer Bo-Ram replied. "All ships report ready for simultaneous dimensional shift." "Weapons status?" Tactical Officer Min Siak looked up from his station. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless spoken to, but he was the best weapons officer Sujin had ever worked with. "All Quantum Lance batteries charged to maximum, Captain. Missile tubes loaded with dimensional warheads. Point defense systems online." "Communications?" "Clear channels to all ships," Communications Officer A-Ra reported. "We're maintaining radio silence with tight beam links only." Sujin nodded. Everything was ready. Now they just had to wait for Admiral Han Sol's signal. Through the dimensional viewer, she could see Kepler Station more clearly now. What was left of it anyway? The once proud mining facility had been reduced to a twisted skeleton of metal and broken machinery. Huge sections had been completely eaten away, leaving gaps like missing teeth. Emergency lights still flickered in a few areas, showing that people were somehow still alive inside. "Captain," A-Ra said quietly, "I'm receiving a transmission from the station. It's Commander Yina again." "Let's hear it." Yina's voice came through the speakers, weak and full of static. "This is Kepler Station to any human forces. We're down to the Central Command Section. 43 people left. The creatures have broken through the main blast door. We have maybe 10 minutes before—" Her voice was cut off by the sound of weapons fire and shouting. When she came back, Yina sounded calmer, more controlled. "If anyone is out there, tell Earth that we held as long as we could. Tell our families we love them. Kepler Station out." The transmission ended. Sujin felt anger burning in her chest, like acid. 43 people. That's all that was left of a thriving community of thousands. And somewhere in that dying station, those people were making their last stand against creatures that saw them as nothing more than food. "All ships," came Admiral Han Sol's voice over the tactical channel. "Prepare for dimensional phase. We go in 30 seconds. Sujin gripped the arms of her command chair. This was it. In 30 seconds, they would either save those people or die trying. There was no middle ground, no second chances. "Weapons Specialist Yunji," Sujin called to the young woman at the gunnery station. "Target the largest bioship first. Make sure your first shot counts." "Yes, ma'am. Target locked and tracking." Through the dimensional viewer, Sujin could see the massive Vorthak command ship. It was a bloated creature the size of a small moon, covered in thick armor plates and bristling with organic weapons. Tentacles as thick as city buildings reached out from its body, grabbing debris and feeding it into grinding mouths. "Captain," Min Siok said, "I'm detecting a transmission from the alien command ship. They're broadcasting on human frequencies." "Put it through." A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking human words with an accent that sounded like metal grinding against stone. "Humans of the dying station," the voice said. "I am Fleet Eater Gextar of the Vorthak Empire. Your resistance has been amusing, but it ends now. Surrender your remaining people, and we will consume them quickly. Continue to fight, and we will make their deaths last for days." Cruel laughter echoed through the speakers. "Your little station has made us strong. Soon we will visit your homeworld and feast on billions. Thank you for showing us the way to Earth." The transmission ended. Sujin felt her hands clench into fists. These creatures didn't just want to kill humans, they wanted to torture them first. And they planned to use Kepler Station as a stepping stone to attack Earth itself. 10 seconds. "To phase shift," Admiral Han Sol announced. Sujin activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. In 10 seconds, we enter combat against an enemy that thinks humans are nothing more than food. They're wrong. We're about to show them exactly how wrong they are. For Kepler Station, for Earth, for every human being who has ever refused to give up." 5 seconds, Han Sol counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1, execute. Reality twisted around the Iron Phoenix as the ghost drive activated. For a moment that felt like forever, the ship existed in multiple dimensions at once. Sujin could see the normal universe, the dimensional space they were leaving, and several other realities layered on top of each other like transparent sheets. Then they snapped back into normal space. The human fleet materialized around Kepler Station like ghosts becoming solid. 15 warships appeared simultaneously, their weapons already aimed at startled Vorthak bioships. For a moment, the aliens didn't react. They couldn't understand what had just happened. That moment of confusion was all the humans needed. All. "Ships, open fire!" Admiral Han Sol commanded. The Iron Phoenix's main quantum lance fired first. A beam of pure dimensional energy lanced out from the dreadnought's bow and struck the massive command ship directly in its center. For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alien creature simply ceased to exist. The quantum lance had disrupted the molecular bonds holding the bioship together. Its atoms scattered across 3 dimensions simultaneously, leaving nothing but empty space where the mountain-sized creature had been floating. Around the human fleet, the other ships opened fire. Quantum lances and dimensional missiles struck bioship after bioship. The aliens' thick armor, evolved to absorb and adapt to normal energy weapons, was useless against attacks that came from parallel dimensions. "Direct hit on Target 2, Yunji reported. "Target destroyed." "Target 3 is breaking apart," Minsok added. "Their armor can't adapt to dimensional damage." Through the viewport, Sujin watched in amazement as the Vorthak fleet began to panic. Bioships that had been confidently feeding on the station suddenly found themselves under attack by weapons they couldn't understand. Creatures that had thought themselves invincible were dying faster than they could react, but the aliens weren't helpless. As the initial shock wore off, they began to fight back. "Incoming!" Jun-Ho shouted. "Massive energy discharge from the alien fleet!" The Vorthak bioships opened fire with their organic weapons. Streams of acid and bioplasma filled the space around Kepler Station. Several shots struck human ships, but most passed harmlessly through empty space where the fleet had been moments before. "Phase shift successful," Boram reported. "We're back in dimensional space. The aliens can't target us." Sujin smiled grimly. This was the advantage that would win them the battle. The human ships could phase in and out of normal space at will, attacking from impossible angles and disappearing before the aliens could respond. To the Vorthak, it must have seemed like they were fighting ghosts. "Prepare for second attack run," Sujin ordered. "This time we target their medium-sized ships. Let's see how they like fighting an enemy they can't see coming." Through the dimensional viewer, she could see chaos spreading through the alien fleet. Bioships crashed into each other as they tried to find targets that kept disappearing. Some of them were turning their weapons on each other in confusion. Commander Yina's voice suddenly came through the communication system, clear and strong. "Unknown human ships. This is Kepler Station. I don't know who you are, but you're the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. Give them hell." Sujin keyed her microphone. "Kepler Station. This is Captain Sujin of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're here to take you home." "Understood, Captain. We'll try to stay alive long enough for pickup." Sujin turned back to her crew. The first phase of the battle was over, and they had won it decisively. But there were still over 200 alien ships out there, and some of them were starting to adapt to human tactics. The real fight was just beginning. The human fleet phased back into normal space like wolves returning to hunt. This time, they appeared scattered throughout the Vorthak formation, each ship materializing next to a different target. The aliens had no time to react before the second wave of attacks began. Captain Sujin watched through the Iron Phoenix's main viewport as quantum lances tore through alien bioships like hot knives through butter. The creature's adaptive armor, designed to learn from energy attacks and grow stronger, was completely useless against dimensional weapons. Each hit scattered alien matter across multiple realities, leaving nothing that could heal or adapt. "Target destroyed!" Weapons Specialist Yunji called out as another bioship disintegrated. "Moving to next target!" Around them, the battle had become a massacre. The destroyer Crimson Blade phased in directly above a cluster of medium-sized bioships and unleashed a full spread of dimensional missiles. The aliens never saw it coming. One moment they were there, the next they were gone. Their atoms spread across dimensions they couldn't even imagine. "Captain," Tactical Officer Min Seok reported, "we've destroyed over 60 alien ships in the past 2 minutes. The survivors are trying to form defensive clusters." Sujin studied the tactical display. The Vorthak fleet was in chaos, but they weren't stupid. The remaining bioships were grouping together, using their numbers to create overlapping fields of fire. They couldn't see the human ships when they were phased, but they could guess where the attacks would come from. "They're adapting faster than expected," Sujin muttered. "Captain," Communications Officer Ara called out, "I'm receiving a transmission from Fighter Squadron Leader Kyung Min. He's requesting permission to launch." Sujin hesitated. The human fighters were small and fast, but they couldn't phase shift like the larger ships. Once they were in normal space, they would be visible to alien sensors. "Tell him to wait," she decided. "We need to thin out their numbers more before we risk the fighters." But even as she spoke, Sujin could see that the battle was changing. The Vorthak bioships were no longer sitting still and waiting to be destroyed. They were moving in complex patterns, trying to predict where the human ships would appear next. Some of them had even started firing at empty space, hoping to hit phased vessels by luck. "Phase shift in 10 seconds. Admiral Han Sol's voice came over the tactical channel. "Third attack run. All ships target the large bioships on the station's perimeter." The Iron Phoenix shifted back into dimensional space, and Sujin watched. The battle from the twisted perspective of parallel dimensions. The Vorthak fleet looked different now. Smaller, more cautious. They had lost almost a quarter of their ships, and the survivors were clearly scared. But they were also getting smarter. "Captain," Engineer Bo Ram said with worry in her voice, "I'm detecting strange energy readings from the alien fleet. They're doing something to their bioships." "What kind of something?" "I'm not sure. It looks like they're merging?" Sujin looked at the dimensional viewer and felt her blood turn cold. Bo-Ram was right. Some of the surviving bioships were connecting to each other with thick tentacles, sharing mass and energy. As she watched, two medium-sized creatures became. One large one, then combined with a third to become something truly massive. "They're trying to create a target too big for us to destroy quickly," Min Seok realized. "If they can merge enough bioships together, they'll have something that can survive multiple quantum lance hits," Sujin finished, "and then they can adapt to our weapons." She opened a channel to Admiral Han Sol. "Admiral, we have a problem. The aliens are merging their ships. If we don't stop them now—" "I see it, Captain," Han Sol replied. "All ships, emergency phase to normal space. Target the merging bioships before they can complete the process." Reality twisted around the Iron Phoenix as it snapped back into normal space. But this time, the aliens were ready for them. The moment the human fleet appeared, every surviving Vorthak bioship opened fire simultaneously. Streams of bioplasma and acid filled the space around Kepler Station like a deadly web. Several human ships took hits before they could react. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Junho reported as the Iron Phoenix shuddered under enemy fire. "Emergency bulkheads are holding, but we've lost 2 quantum lance batteries." Sujin gritted her teeth. The aliens had learned to predict their phase-in points by watching the pattern of previous attacks. They were no longer fighting stupid beasts. They were fighting an enemy that could think and adapt. "All fighters, launch immediately," she ordered. "We need to break up their formation before they complete the merger." Fighter pilot Kyung Min's voice crackled over the communication system. "Roger that, Iron Phoenix. Go squadron launching now." Through the viewport, Sujin watched as dozens of small human fighters poured out of the fleet's launch bays. The fighters were tiny compared to the bioships, but they were incredibly fast and agile. More importantly, they were too small for the aliens' main weapons to target effectively. Kyung Min led his squadron in a diving attack on the largest cluster of merging bioships. The fighters couldn't phase shift like the capital ships, but they had their own advantages. They fired micro-dimensional torpedoes as they flew, each one too small to destroy a bioship, but powerful enough to disrupt the merger process. "Direct hits on the merger cluster," Kyung Min reported. "The connection tentacles are severing. They can't maintain the link." But the aliens had more tricks. As the fighters attacked, smaller bioships that had been hiding behind the larger ones suddenly emerged, spitting clouds of organic spores into space. The spores spread quickly, creating a thick fog that interfered with both sensors and weapons. "I can't see anything," one of the fighter pilots called out. "The spores are blocking our targeting systems." "Ghost Squadron, fall back," Sujin ordered. "All ships, prepare to—" She was interrupted by a new voice on the communication channel. It was harsh and alien, speaking human words with obvious difficulty. "Human. Ghosts," the voice said. "You fight well for such small creatures, but you cannot win. We are the Vorthak. We have devoured 1,000 worlds. Your tricks amuse us, but they will not save you." The voice grew more confident. "I am Warfeeder Xelnoth, successor to the fallen Gekstar. We have learned from your attacks. Soon we will adapt completely, and then we will feast on your ships as we feasted on your station." To prove his point, several bioships began firing new weapons, beams of energy that seemed to bend space itself. One beam nearly hit the cruiser Steel Thunder, missing by only a few hundred meters. They're trying to copy our dimensional technology, Boram realized. If they succeed, they won't succeed, Sujin said firmly. Minseok, target that warfeeder's ship with everything we have. Yunji, prepare a full quantum lance barrage. Captain, Minseok warned, that bioship is enormous. It will take multiple hits to destroy it, and we'll be exposed the entire time. Then we better make sure we don't miss. The Iron Phoenix turned toward the massive alien command ship. The creature was truly enormous now, having absorbed several smaller bioships into its bulk. Its hull pulsed with stolen energy, and dozens of organic weapons tracked the human dreadnought. All batteries fire, Sujin commanded. 4 quantum lances fired simultaneously, their dimensional energy beams crossing in space to strike the alien command ship. The creature's hull buckled and twisted as reality itself was torn apart around it. But the bioship was so massive that it survived the initial barrage, though barely. It's still alive, Yunji reported, but it's badly damaged. The wounded command ship tried to return fire, but its aim was wild. Bioplasma scattered harmlessly around the iron. Phoenix, as the alien creature struggled to maintain control of its damaged body. Second barrage, fire! This time, the quantum lances found their mark perfectly. The warfeeder's ship came apart like a puzzle being taken apart by invisible hands. Its death scream echoed across all communication frequencies as it dissolved into component atoms. Around the battlefield, the remaining Vorthak bioships seemed to pause. Their leader was dead. Their merger attempts had failed, and they were still taking losses to weapons they couldn't understand or counter. For the first time since the battle began, Sujin allowed herself to hope they might actually win. But the aliens weren't finished yet. As she watched in horror, the surviving bioships began a new tactic. Instead of trying to fight the human fleet directly, they turned toward Kepler Station and began feeding on it again, consuming metal and energy. At an incredible rate, they were growing stronger with every bite, preparing for one final desperate attack. The surviving Vorthak bioships swarmed toward Kepler Station like hungry sharks sensing blood in the water. Captain Sujin watched in horror as the aliens abandoned all pretense of fighting the human fleet and focused entirely on consuming what remained of the mining facility. They're feeding at maximum rate, Navigator Sang-wook reported, his voice tight with disbelief. I'm reading massive energy spikes from every bioship. They're absorbing metal, machinery, even the station's power core. Through the Iron Phoenix's main viewport, Sujin could see the grotesque spectacle unfolding. The Vorthak creatures attached themselves to Kepler Station like parasites, their grinding mouths tearing through hull plating and support beams. With each bite, the bioships grew visibly larger, their hulls stretching and expanding as they incorporated new mass into their bodies. Captain, Science Officer Ji-young called out from her station, I'm detecting something else. The bioships aren't just growing, they're connecting to each other through some kind of neural network. They're sharing the absorbed energy and materials. Sujin felt her stomach drop. You mean they're becoming one creature? That's exactly what I mean. They're forming a collective organism, using the station's structure as a foundation. If this continues, we'll be facing a single entity the size of a small moon. The tactical display showed the terrible truth of Ji-young's words. Nearly 100 bioships had attached themselves to different parts of Kepler Station. Thick, rope-like tentacles stretched between them, creating a living web of alien flesh and stolen metal. The individual creatures were disappearing, merging, into something much larger and more dangerous. All ships, emergency attack. Admiral Hansol's voice crackled over the communication system. Stop them from completing the merger. The human fleet phased back into normal space around the station. But they were too late. The bioships had positioned themselves so that any attack on them would also damage what remained of Kepler Station, and the 43 people still trapped inside. Captain, Communications Officer Ara said urgently, I'm receiving a transmission from Commander Yi-Na. She says the aliens are breaking into the command center. They want to surrender to save the remaining civilians. Put her through, Su-Jin ordered. Yi-Na's voice came through the speakers, strained but determined. Captain Su-Jin, we can see. What's happening out there? These creatures are using our station to make themselves stronger. Don't worry about us. Destroy that thing before it's too late. Negative, Commander. We're not abandoning you. Captain, listen to me. There are only 43 of us left. But there are billions of people on Earth. If that creature completes its transformation, it will be unstoppable. You have to act now. Su-Jin closed her eyes for a moment, wrestling with an impossible decision. Save the people at the station or save humanity itself. There had to be another way. Ji-Young, she said, analyze the merger process. Find me a weakness. Ji-Young's fingers flew over her console. The neural connections between bioships are the key. They're using organic fiber optic cables to share information and energy. If we could sever those connections, the merged creature would fall apart, Su-Jin finished. But those cables are buried deep inside the station structure. We'd need surgical precision to hit them without killing the survivors. Captain, Tactical Officer Min Seok suddenly called out. The merger is accelerating. The bioships are starting their final fusion. Through the viewport, Su-Jin watched in fascination and horror as the alien creatures began their ultimate transformation. The individual bioships were dissolving, their substance flowing together like liquid metal. The resulting creature was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Iron Phoenix and still growing. But more terrifying than its size was its intelligence. As the merger progressed, the creature began to speak, not through communication systems, but by manipulating space itself, creating sound waves that every human ship could hear. Human insects, the voice said, echoing with the power of 100. Merged minds, we thank you for this gift. Your station has made us strong beyond imagination. Soon we will be too large for your ghost weapons to destroy. The creature's voice grew more confident as it continued. We are no longer many bioships. We are one perfect organism. We are Kepler feeder, born from your own metal and machinery. Your weapons that scatter individual ships across dimensions cannot affect us. We exist in too many places at once. Su-Jin realized with growing dread that the creature was right. The quantum lances worked by disrupting molecular bonds. But this thing was so massive and complex that destroying part of it wouldn't stop the whole organism. Captain, Engineer Boram reported, the creature is generating its own dimensional fields. It's trying to learn how to phase shift like our ships. Can it succeed? If it absorbs enough of the station's quantum processing units, possibly. And if a creature that size learns to phase shift, Boram didn't need to finish. A phase-shifting bioship the size of a small moon would be virtually unstoppable. It could appear anywhere in human space without warning, consuming entire planets before anyone could react. Captain Wu-Jin, Su-Jin, called to the destroyer Crimson Blade, "You're the fastest ship in the fleet. Can you get close enough to the station to target the neural connections?" Negative, Iron Phoenix. The creature has extended defensive tentacles around the entire structure. My ship would be grabbed before I could fire. The merged bio-entity was now so large that it dwarfed everything else in the system. Its surface writhed with newly grown weapons and sensors. Tentacles the size of battleships reached out from its body, testing the empty space around it. "We understand now," the creature's voice boomed through space. "Your ships hide in parallel dimensions. But we are learning. Soon we will follow you into your hiding places and devour you there." To prove its point, the creature began generating strange energy fields. Space around it started to ripple and bend, showing that it was indeed learning to manipulate dimensional barriers. "All ships, emergency withdrawal," Admiral Han Sol ordered. "Fall back to minimum safe distance." But as the human fleet began to retreat, Captain Wu Jin's voice cut through the panic. "Wait, I have an idea." Su Jin turned to her communication station. "Go ahead, Crimson Blade." The creature is so focused on learning to phase shift that it's not paying attention to normal space. If I could get inside the station structure, right to the core where the neural connections meet, you'd be flying directly into the creature's body, Su Jin realized. Your ship would be destroyed the moment you phase into normal space. "Not if I don't phase out," Wu Jin replied. "The Crimson Blade's ghost drive can maintain partial phase shift for short periods. I could fly through the creature's body while partially existing in dimensional space. It couldn't grab what it can't fully see. And then I detonate my ship's quantum core directly inside the neural nexus. The explosion would sever all the connections simultaneously." Su Jin felt her heart clench. "Captain, that's a suicide mission." "Maybe. But if I don't try, everyone dies anyway." "Captain Su Jin, promise me something. When this is over, make sure Earth knows what happened here. Make sure they know we fought to the end." Before Su Jin could respond, the Crimson Blade disappeared from normal space, diving into dimensional phase shift. Through the tactical display, she could see the destroyer approaching the massive bio-entity at incredible speed. The creature noticed the attack at the last moment. Tentacles lashed out toward where the Crimson Blade should have been, but the ship was only partially in normal space. The alien appendages passed harmlessly through the destroyer's phased hull. "Crimson Blade to all ships." Wu Jin's voice came through the communications system, strained but calm. "Beginning final approach. See you on the other side." The destroyer phased directly into the heart of the bio-entity, disappearing from all sensors. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Kepler Station exploded in a bloom of dimensional fire that lit up space like a second sun. The dimensional explosion from Captain Wu Jin's sacrifice lit up the Kepler system like a newborn star. The massive bio-entity that had been forming around the station came apart in seconds, its neural connections severed by quantum fire burning in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Captain Su Jin watched through the Iron Phoenix's reinforced viewport as the creature's death throes shook space itself. The enormous organism, which moments before had been boasting about its invincibility, collapsed like a house of cards. Its component bioships, suddenly cut off from the collective mind, writhed in confusion and panic. "Direct hit!" Tactical Officer Min Seok reported, his voice filled with awe. "The neural nexus is completely destroyed. The merger is collapsing." Around the dying station, individual Vorthak bioships were breaking free from the collective mass. But they were damaged and disoriented. Many of them had been so integrated into the larger organism that they couldn't survive on their own. One by one, they began to shut down, their life systems failing without the support of the neural network. "Captain," Communications Officer A-Ra called out urgently, "I'm receiving multiple surrender transmissions. The surviving aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put the strongest signal through," Su Jin ordered. A voice came through the speakers, But it was very different from the confident tones they had heard before. This voice was filled with fear and confusion. "Human ghost ships," the alien speaker said, struggling with the human words. We yield. We do not understand your weapons. We do not understand how you fight. Please, we surrender. Do not send more death fire into our minds." Sujin looked around her bridge. Her crew stared back at her, waiting for orders. These were the same aliens who had been ready to eat every human in the galaxy just minutes ago. Now they were begging for mercy. "Admiral Han Sol," Sujin called over the tactical channel, "we have multiple alien surrender requests. What are your orders?" "Accept their surrender," Han Sol replied after a moment's pause. "But keep all weapons trained on them. If any of them so much as twitch wrong, turn them into space dust." Sujin opened a channel to the alien fleet. "Vorthak ships, this is Captain Sujin of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your surrender is accepted under the following conditions. Power down all weapons immediately, maintain current positions, and prepare to be boarded for inspection." "We comply," came the frightened alien response. "We comply with all demands." Across the battlefield, the surviving bioships began shutting down their organic weapons. Their hulls lost the angry red glow they had maintained during combat, fading to a dull gray color that seemed to indicate submission. "Scanner sweep of the debris field," Sujin ordered. "Are there any signs of life from Kepler Station?" "Navigator." Sang-Wook worked frantically at his station. "Captain, I'm detecting life pods. Multiple emergency beacons are active in the debris. Launch all rescue shuttles immediately. Get those people out of there." As the Iron Phoenix's rescue shuttles raced toward the debris field, Sujin allowed herself to feel the first glimmer of hope she'd had in hours. The battle was over, and somehow they had won. But the cost... "Any word from the Crimson Blade?" she asked quietly. Ira shook her head sadly. "No signals, ma'am. Captain Wu Jin's ship was completely vaporized in the quantum core explosion." Sujin closed her eyes for a moment, honoring the memory of a brave captain and his crew. They had given their lives to save not just Kepler Station, but possibly all of human civilization. "Captain!" Science Officer Ji Young suddenly called out. "I'm detecting something unusual in the quantum signatures from the explosion. The dimensional disruption is spreading beyond the immediate area." "Spreading how?" "It's creating a kind of wave effect through subspace. The disruption is moving outward at faster than light speed, and it's carrying information about what happened here." Sujin frowned. "What kind of information?" "Everything. The defeat of the Vorthak fleet, the power of human weapons, our tactical capabilities. Any alien civilization with subspace monitoring equipment will know about this battle within hours." Admiral Han Sol's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, be advised that we're receiving long-range transmissions from across the sector. Word of our victory is spreading fast." "What kind of transmissions?" Sujin asked. "Surrender. Offers, mostly. It seems like half the Vorthak Empire wants to negotiate peace treaties before we show up in their systems." Through the tactical display, Sujin could see the truth of Han Sol's words. Her communication board was lighting up with incoming messages from dozens of star systems. Most of them were from former Vorthak territories requesting human protection from other alien threats. "Captain," A-Ra reported, "I'm receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Dong-hyun wants to speak with you directly. Put him through." Admiral Dong-hyun's face appeared on the main screen. Even through the long-distance link, Sujin could see the relief and pride in his eyes. "Captain Sujin, Admiral Han Sol, congratulations on a victory that will be remembered for centuries. The entire sector is buzzing with news of what you accomplished at Kepler Station. Thank you, sir. But the cost was high. We lost the Crimson Blade and her entire crew. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten, Dong-hyun replied solemnly. But because of their courage, and yours, the galaxy now knows that humanity is not to be trifled with. We're already receiving diplomatic requests from species that have never acknowledged our existence before. Soo-jin nodded. What are your orders regarding the captured Vorthak ships? Secure them for study. Our scientists are very interested in bioship technology, especially now that we know its weaknesses. And Captain, yes, sir? Start preparing detailed reports on everything that happened. The other human colonies need to know exactly how this battle was won. They need to understand that our Ghost Drive and Quantum Lance technologies give us a decisive advantage over any conventional force. As the transmission ended, Soo-jin looked out at the debris field that had once been Kepler Station. Rescue shuttles were already pulling life pods from the wreckage. Against all odds, Commander Yi-na and most of her remaining people had survived the station's destruction. Final casualty report, Soo-jin asked. Min-seok consulted his records. From the human fleet, the destroyer Crimson Blade and all hands, total of 96 personnel. From Kepler Station, approximately 800 civilians and military personnel. Lost during the siege, 41 survivors recovered. And the alien losses? Complete destruction of the Vorthak battle fleet. Over 300 bioships destroyed or disabled. Estimated alien casualties in the hundreds of thousands. Soo-jin was quiet for a moment, processing the numbers. In less than 4 hours, the human fleet had wiped out an alien armada that had been terrorizing the galaxy for centuries. The Vorthak had thought they were invincible, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. Captain, Engineer Boram said softly, what happens now? Soo-jin looked around her bridge at the tired but proud faces of her crew. These people had just fought the most important battle in human history, and they had won through courage, intelligence, and sacrifice. Now, she said, we go home. We rebuild Kepler Station stronger than before, and we make sure that every alien civilization in the galaxy understands one simple truth. You can attack human territory, you can threaten human colonies, but you never, ever threaten human civilians and expect to live to tell about it. Through the viewport, the stars looked brighter somehow. The galaxy was a different place now. Humanity had announced its presence as a major power, and that announcement had been written in quantum fire across the void. The age of human expansion was about to begin. 1 month after the Battle of Kepler Station, the galaxy was a very different place. Captain Soo-jin stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Kepler defense platform, watching construction ships rebuild the mining station. The new facility would be 3 times larger than the original, with heavy defensive systems and a permanent fleet garrison. But the real changes were happening far beyond this single star system. Captain, Communications Officer Aera approached with a data pad in her hands. The latest diplomatic reports from Earth Command. Soo-jin took the pad and read through the summary. 17 former Vorthak territories had requested human protection. The Zephyrian Republic wanted to establish a trade alliance. 3 different species were asking for human military advisors to help them defend against other threats. Amazing, Soo-jin murmured. 1 battle, and suddenly everyone wants to be our friend. Or they want to make sure they're not our enemy, Aera replied with a small smile. Through the observation windows, Soo-jin could see the Iron Phoenix floating nearby. The dreadnought showed scars from the battle, patches of new hull plating, where alien bioplasma had burned through the armor. But the ship had been repaired and upgraded with even more powerful quantum lance batteries. The human fleet was growing, too. Earth's shipyards were working around the clock to build new vessels, equipped with ghost drive technology. Admiral Dong-hyun had announced plans to establish permanent naval bases in 12 systems within the next 2 years. Ma'am, A-Ra continued, Admiral Han Sol is requesting your presence in the command center. He has something he wants to show. You... Sujin made her way through the corridors of the defense platform. The walls were lined with displays showing real-time information from across the sector. Trade routes, ship movements, diplomatic communications. Humanity was rapidly becoming the center of galactic activity. In the command center, Admiral Han Sol stood before a massive holographic display that showed the entire local arm of the galaxy. Different colored lights indicated various alien territories, trade routes, and patrol zones. Captain Sujin, Han Sol said as she approached, I wanted you to see this. Show her the patrol report from yesterday. The display zoomed in. On a system about 50 light-years from Kepler Station, Sujin could see several small ships moving in formation, a human patrol squadron on routine patrol. Nothing unusual there, Sujin observed. Watch what happens when they encounter that Vorthak merchant convoy, Han Sol said with a slight smile. On the display, the human patrol ships approached a group of bioships that were clearly non-military. The moment the aliens detected human vessels, every bioship in the convoy immediately powered down their engines and transmitted surrender codes. They surrendered without even being challenged, Han Sol explained. The mere presence of human ships is enough to make them panic. Word of what happened here has spread faster than we anticipated. Sujin shook her head in amazement. How many Vorthak ships have surrendered to our patrols this month? Over 300. Most of them are begging for safe passage through human space. They're more afraid of other alien species now than they are of us. The irony wasn't lost on Sujin. The Vorthak, who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, were now hiding behind human protection. The same species they had planned to eat was now the only thing standing between them and revenge from their former victims. Admiral, said a new voice from across the command center. Engineer Boram approached with several data tablets. The latest analysis of captured Vorthak technology is complete. What did we learn? Sujin asked. Their bioships are incredibly advanced in some ways, but primitive in others. They never developed dimensional technology because they couldn't understand the mathematical principles involved. Their brains are designed for biological thinking, not quantum physics. Boram pulled up technical diagrams on her tablet. However, their regenerative capabilities are remarkable. We're already working on medical applications that could revolutionize human healthcare. Any military applications? Han Sol inquired. Possibly. We might be able to create hybrid ships that combine bioregeneration with our dimensional technology. Self-repairing vessels that can phase shift would be nearly invincible. Sujin was impressed but also cautious. Are we sure it's safe to experiment with their technology? The last thing we want is to create something we can't control. All research is being conducted under strict containment protocols, Boram assured her. And we have volunteers from the surrendered Vorthak crews helping us understand the technology safely. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent chime from the communication system. A-Ra hurried to answer it, then looked up with excitement. Admiral? Captain? You need to hear this. It's a transmission from the Galactic Commerce Council. They're inviting humanity to join as a full member. Su Jin raised an eyebrow. Didn't they refuse to even acknowledge our existence 6 months ago? Yes, ma'am. But apparently our demonstration of advanced military capabilities has convinced them to reconsider their position. Admiral Hansol laughed, a sound with little humor in it. Amazing how much more diplomatic everyone becomes when they realize you can erase their fleets in under 10 minutes. Through the command center's main viewport, Su Jin could see merchant ships from a dozen different species arriving at the new Kepler station. The facility was becoming a major trading hub, with aliens eager to do business with the species that had defeated the Vorthak so decisively. "Captain," Ara said, reading from another incoming message, "Earth Command is requesting your input on the new rapid response protocol. They want to station ghost drive fleets at strategic points throughout human space. The idea is that any threat to human civilians would face immediate retaliation," Hansol explained. "No more waiting days or weeks for help to arrive. Any aggressor would have human warships in their system within hours." Su Jin nodded approvingly. "That should discourage anyone from trying what the Vorthak tried." "It already has," Boram added. "Intelligence reports indicate that several pirate organizations have completely disbanded rather than risk encounters with human forces." As if summoned by their conversation, Admiral Dong Hyun's face appeared on the main communication screen. The fleet commander looked pleased, but tired. "Admiral Hansol, Captain Su Jin, I have news from Earth. The civilian government has approved funding for Operation Guardian Angel." "Which is?" Su Jin asked. "A network of automated defense platforms in every human system, each equipped with ghost drive technology and quantum lance weapons. If any hostile force attacks a human colony, the platforms will activate and hold them off until the fleet arrives." Hansol whistled appreciatively. "That's ambitious. How long to implement?" 2 years for the core systems, 5 years for complete coverage. We're also establishing a new military academy specifically for training officers in ghost drive tactics." Su Jin felt a mixture of pride and concern. Humanity was becoming a major galactic power faster than anyone had expected. The question was whether they could handle that responsibility wisely. "Admiral," she said, "what about the diplomatic side? Are we prepared for the political complications that come with this much military power?" Dong Hyun nodded seriously. "That's part of why I'm calling. Earth Command wants you to consider a transfer to the new Galactic Relations Division. Your experience at Kepler Station makes you ideal for dealing with alien governments." "I appreciate the offer, sir, but I prefer being out here with the fleet." "I thought you might say that. In that case, how would you feel about commanding the new First Rapid Response Fleet? 15 of our most advanced ships, all equipped with the latest ghost drive systems, ready to deploy anywhere in the sector within 6 hours." Su Jin looked around the command center at the faces of her colleagues. These people had fought beside her in humanity's most important battle. They had proven that humans could stand against any threat and emerge victorious. "I'd be honored, Admiral." "Excellent. Your first assignment will be a diplomatic patrol through former Vorthak territory. Show the flag, remind everyone that human space is under our protection, and collect any intelligence on potential new threats." As the transmission ended, Su Jin returned to the observation deck. The stars looked different now than they had a month ago. They no longer represented an unknown frontier fill.